Man United's academy is in the healthiest position it has been in a long time. After a revamp, refurbishment, recruitment, getting the right people in place, United's academy is in a really strong position. Kobbie Mainoo's breaking through this season. Mainoo Garnacho broke through last season. And in this video, I want to tell you about some other youngsters that you should be keeping your eye on over the next few years. We've got a 15-year-old, we've got some 16-year-olds, we've got a couple of 18-year-olds as well. Trust me, there are more to come. I have more confidence in this academy producing first-team quality players than I have done in a long time. And I'll explain exactly who in this video. So you can let me know what you think about this list in the comments, as you always do. But right now, I mean, that game against Wigan, obviously the biggest standout was the performance of Mainoo, but also Garnacho too. And just to see those two, an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old, you can see the future of Manchester United in the present. And it's exciting to think that they're going to be in this team for a long, long time. But Kobbie Mainoo in particular is one who has taken the headlines, not because he's come through with that star quality. I mean, he has that, but not in the traditional sense, I suppose. Like Garnacho is like a match-winning star quality. Kobbie Mainoo and his qualities are around his maturity, are around his composure. And that game against Wigan, look, man, like his ground duels, you can look at the individual stats, but I'm talking about the eye test here. Mainoo was man of the match. That little touch there, ooh, composure there to knock it over his head, control it, pass it to Pellistri. In my opinion, he was man of the match. He didn't get man of the match, but he was man of the match. And if you look at how he's played at Anfield or Goodison Park or away at Galatasaray, he's shown that he can do it in high-pressure situations. He played there against Wigan, and that game was kind of how Kobbie Mainoo played in the youth team. Just swagger that comes with looking so calm with the ball at his feet. All right? And for him to break through from the academy and win the FA Youth Cup into this first team right now when we're desperate for like a number 6, number 8 hybrid, the timing is perfect. As was the arrival of Garnacho. Viva Ronaldo? Old news. Viva Garnacho? It's now and the future. And something I really want to talk about here, which I think is a really important point, is not only the development of Garnacho on an individual basis, but the development under Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag has managed Garnacho very well. From the first pre-season when Garnacho was late to a couple of meetings and he didn't really play a minute on the pre-season tour, he was taught about discipline very early on, because Garnacho came out of the academy as our best player. He was used to being the big fish in a small pond. All of a sudden, he's a small fish in a big pond. And you have to learn about the differences. And this season, he's developing into an all-round star. On the right wing instead of the left. Tracking back. Being a proper winger. And I think Ten Hag and his... So much is said about Ten Hag's talent ID, right? Anthony. And other players that we signed. That's not Ten Hag's repertoire. I don't trust that, all right? But what I do trust is Ten Hag's eye when it comes to youth team players. I think he's managed Mainoo perfectly so far. I think he's managed Garnacho perfectly until this point. Said his name a bit weird there, Garnacho. Garnacho perfectly. And like so many, like for example, so many people got angry about Charlie Savage, but maybe not as angry at Charlie Savage being sold, but certainly with Zidane Iqbal. I was angry at the price, but Ten Hag came into the first pre-season, didn't really know about our academy, and I believe it was Darren Fletcher who recommended him, Charlie Savage, and Zidane Iqbal. Ten Hag took them both in the preseason. They impressed, but then he decided, no, I don't think they're good enough. And that's what Ten Hag is doing, and kind of what Ten Hag has done this whole way through. He's not just putting youngsters in the team for the sake of it. He's putting youngsters in the team that he genuinely feels are good enough. And they will not be the only ones that come through. If Ten Hag stays here, well, for the long term, I'm not sure. All right. But the academy youngsters that we've got coming through, let me run through them now. There really are some to be excited about. I want to say I would love to get Nick Cox on this channel for an interview. I would love to speak to him in a bit more depth about the changes that have happened at the academy whilst he's been head of academy. Because only a few years ago, it was kind of in turmoil. I think it was when we had like McGuinness as manager. Nicky Butt was kind of head of academy, I think. And then John Murtough was involved in it. Actually, I think John Murtough did some good stuff before, obviously, he was over-promoted inside the club. And then Murtough sort of fell out with Butt. I think players left. I think Brian McClare left. And it kind of felt like the academy was in a bit of a mess. Nick Cox has really helped it. And our under-18s right now, top of the league, 10 wins from 10, 34 goals scored in 10 games, only conceded 6. And there are a few standout players from that team. One which Willie Cambuela is a little bit older than that. But Willie Cambuela would have been in and around the first team a little bit earlier had it not been for the injuries. I'm pretty convinced about that. And now he's broken into the first team. He got that start away at West Ham. I think he came on against Wigan. I think he's one to watch out for. In my opinion, I think it's the hardest position to break out of the academy into the first team for Manchester United is from defence. Johnny Evans is a great example of nailing it, but there aren't many. We've had Paddy McNair, Tyler Blackett, Cameron Borthwick Jackson, Reece Bennett, who he was a captain of the FA Youth Cup winning team. Let's see, he's still got an opportunity, but you've got Willie Cambuela playing ahead of him. He's definitely one to watch now. And people are talking about Hannibal. I don't know whether I think it's all about opportunities. Like Mainoo's chances this season are coming because we're desperate for a midfielder of that profile. Hannibal in his position, I think he should be getting more opportunities than McTominay. I'm not quite sure, but I think Ten Hag is probably going to be looking at him going, well, we've got Dan Gore coming through. And Dan Gore really is somebody to watch out for. Slight frame, looks about 4 years old. But he really has qualities and is a slightly different profile to Hannibal. A little bit closer towards Mainoo, but somebody who's extremely comfortable receiving the ball from the centre-backs. And when you look at towards the younger players who are coming through, this in particular, there was so much said about Jack and Tyler Fletcher coming to the club. They were from City's academy, and Darren Fletcher brought them across. They have become, I think Jack in particular, they've become very good players for the under-18s since joining in the summer, and are definitely two players to watch out for. So that's the 16-year-old twins there of Jack and Tyler Fletcher. You've got, I believe, Dan Gore is 18, and I believe Willie Cambuela is 18. Don't actually know of those two off the top of my head, but I think they are. And then going further down the teams, you look towards Shea Lacey. Shea Lacey is somebody he's got the natural star quality. If you ever get the opportunity to watch Shea Lacey play, then I encourage you to do so. He's somebody who he's certainly developing this season, kind of using his right foot a little bit more, but he has that X factor. He just looks like a star in the making. Only 16, got a hell of a lot of development ahead of him, but certainly watch out for his name in the next couple of years. And in just the same fashion, I think you should be looking out for Jace Fitzgerald. He's more of a sort of central midfielder. He's making a lot of noise. There's a lot of players, as I said, from this under-18s team right now. There's a reason that they're top of the league by 8 points. Because this crop that is coming through, not only did we win the FA Youth Cup, but the crop that's coming underneath them into the under-18s is very good too. And then if you go a little bit younger there, you look towards Amir Ibrahimov, and so much is said about this lad. He's only just about returned from injury, scored for United's under-16s against Liverpool at the weekend. He really has been sort of heralded as I don't want to use the word prodigy, but at every age level that he's played so far, he is an absolute talent. And it's not only Amir who's at the club. I think that's his younger brother, Gazik, who's significantly taller than him. But I think, is it Mohammed as well? I think there's 3 Ibrahimov brothers who are playing inside all different levels of our youth teams at this moment in time. So you've got here, right? So if I go through those again, you've got Cambuela, you've got a centre-back. You've got Dan Gore, central midfielder. You've got Jack and Tyler Fletcher, both midfielders. Then you've got Shea Lacey, who's more of a winger. You've got Jace Fitzgerald, who's a central midfielder. You've got Amir Ibrahimov, who's kind of like an attacking midfielder, I think. But there really is such an abundance of talent. We won the FA Youth Cup for the first time in, 10 years when we won it last year? And of course, 2 players who were in that team are now in our first team. The academy is so crucial to our club. It's such a core fundamental. And these 2, I think, are going to be core fundamental players for this club for the foreseeable future. And I think there's going to be others that follow. Our academy really is in a good place right now. And the youngsters that are coming towards the first team are closer to first team quality than they were before. Previously, there was a bigger gap. They were coming through as talented players, but it was just such a, and that's why I hate under 21s football so much. It's under 18s is a good system, but the under 21s, that's why loan spells are so important. Sometimes they're not necessary. Sometimes players are just that good that they can break through into the first team. And I hope some of the players that I've mentioned there, who would I be looking out for in particular? I think a lot of people are going to be speaking about Shea Lacey, for sure. Keep an eye out on him. And the same goes for Abir Ibrahimov, by the way. He's only with the under 16. He's only 15 years old, so he's years away. But that's what I mean. United have, after years of sort of the best youngsters going towards City and them having the run of the mill, under Nick Cox, and with the recruitment that we've made, and with better coaching and everything that we're doing, United's academy is in a really good place right now. And therefore, the future certainly looks exciting for more Mainoos and Garnachos coming through into the first team.